King salmon, also called Chinook salmon, average between 10 and 20 pounds, with 30 to 40 pounders very common. Catching these monsters on spinning tackle or a fly rod is easy, once you know how, and it's only hours away by car from most metropolitan areas in the Northeast. After nearly 20 years of continuous and increased stocking by the New York State, the Salmon River now rivals some of the best salmon runs of the West Coast and Alaska.
Hi everyone, I'm Ed Vanderwerp, and 10 years ago I started coming up here to the Salmon River. Like a lot of these guys out here, I was experienced, had a lot of good equipment, had the raw desire to catch these fish. I just didn't have the proper knowledge and I didn't have the proper technique. It's taken me 10 years to properly learn how to catch these fish, and I'm going to share my secrets to success with you on catching these fish. Now, if you follow my advice and you learn just the proper drift technique, you will catch monster fish.
The largest of all salmon is the Pacific salmon, also called the Chinook or king salmon. These fish do not migrate to the sea like most salmon, but mature in fresh water, Lake Ontario, for 3 years, which is why they are also called landlocked salmon. Beginning in mid-September and running through October and November, they return to the river to spawn. Like most salmon, these fish do not feed once they enter the river to spawn. However, while trying to make it up the river, they will stop or hit a fly or lure out of aggravation and frustration. I'm going to show you how to stop them. The Salmon River is located about 40 miles north of Syracuse, New York. This 13-mile-long tributary to Lake Ontario has its headwaters in the Salmon River Reservoir and flows to the lake, reaching it at Port Ontario. As we said, the salmon start their run during September and continue running through October and November. But there's a bonus. Beginning in October, you can also find strong runs of brown trout and steelheads. Since this seasonal salmon run is a fisherman's dream, you had better make advance reservations. There are a wide variety of accommodations in the area, from motels to fishing lodges. At the end of this video, we will list several phone numbers where you can get detailed information.
Hi, we just arrived here on the river, but there's certain things you want to do before you ever even consider getting out into that river. You want to visit your local tackle shop. You want to find out where these fish are located and what's happening out in the river. Now, the first thing you want to do is you want to talk to the people in the tackle shops. They are very familiar about what's happening out there, very knowledgeable what's happening. They see this day in, day out. Now, if you come up here and you're unfamiliar with the river, these tackle shops all sell river maps. And these maps have all the holes and all the locations of anything you'll need. All right, there's a few essentials we're going to need before we ever even consider going out in the river. One is a warm pair of waders. We also need a good pair of river cleats. This will cut through all the algae on the rocks and to keep us from falling. Now, there's a couple different pairs you can go with, but they all basically do the same. We also need a good pair of polarized glasses. This will cut through the glare and help you to spot fish. Now, what I'm doing here, the technique that we're doing right now, this is called drift fishing. This is the proper term for this. It's called drift fishing. And what I'm doing is I'm casting quarterly upstream, and I'm running a lure. I'm running my fly down through the pockets. I have just enough weight here just to make it to the bottom. And what happens is the fish come up, and they come up and they're all sitting right in these runs. There's two runs here. There's one run here, and there's one run over there. So what we're going to do is we're going to check this run out first, and we're going to see if there's any fish sitting in here. Now, the technique, like I said, the technique we're using is called drift fishing, and I want to go over and over that again with you. You want to have enough weight to get down to the bottom, but not too much where you're getting stuck. I'm going to start with spin casting equipment. Since there's about 75% of the people that come up here use spin casting equipment, let me go over the rod and reel itself, the rigging, and the technique that I'm using. tomorrow we'll go over to the fly fishing. What we recommend is a 6 to 10 foot long spinning rod. Something with a medium action rod, something that's big enough that's going to handle a 40-pound fish. The reason I recommend a long rod is basically two reasons. One, the type of fishing we're doing, we're using extremely long leaders. Now this is a 9-foot leader. Some people use up to a 12-foot leader when drifting through situations like this. Now the only time you'd want to use a smaller leader is if you were real close to a bank and close to the embankment and the fish are right in front of you, then you would want to shorten up that leader. But for the most part, you'd want to use a nice long leader. Now that long rod is going to help you cast it and have more control over that leader. And two, what we're doing, the leader itself is I'm only using about a 12-pound test leader. And those longer rods, what that'll do, the longer rods will actually absorb some of the punishment, and your leaders won't break as quick. Reels. You want a good reel with a good disc drag system. You want something that's going to handle about 150 to 200 yards of backing. What we recommend is a 14 to 17 pound main line. There's no need to come into the river here with 20, 30, and 40 pound test. You just don't need it. Now these fish, when they come up here, they can see extremely well. And the lighter the line, the lighter the leader, the more chance you are, the more fish you're going to catch. Let's put it that way. So let me go through this. What I'm going to be doing is casting quarterly upstream, and I'm going to be drifting down through the river here, through this run. Now, when you cast quarterly upstream, what you want to do is take in just enough slack to keep that line tight. So if a fish hits that, the instant he stops or takes that line, you will feel it. So through the whole course of this whole week, I'm going to keep going over this technique. It's casting quarterly upstream, and as you cast, I lead the leader with the pole actually, and I'm taking in line as I go through my drift. I want to keep a nice tight line so when that fish hits that fly, instantaneously I know I have a fish on and I can set the hook. You don't want to be frustrated when you're in an area and you see you're not catching fish. Move down the river a little bit because you might be in a good position, you might just be a little too high. So what you want to do is move around a little bit. I know there's guys that come up here and they spend a week on their vacation and they'll stand on the same rock year after year because they caught a fish there. You don't want to do that. You want to move around a little bit, check out the river, check out the different spots, and fish. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to check along this line. A lot of times, these big salmon come up this river and they'll sit right here along the side of the bank. So let's see if we can't pull one of them babies out. These fish are aiming up towards me. So what I'm doing is I'm drifting down now into their mouth. They're coming up here and they come up through these runs, and a lot of times what they'll do is they'll sit in here and they'll rest and they'll wait up to go up to the next area. This is actually a beautiful, beautiful place to fish. Because what's happening is while I'm fishing and my leader is moving down here through the ripple, I can actually feel the weight just bouncing off the bottom. So you know you're drifting perfect, you know your line is moving through the current at a correct speed. If you're getting constantly hung up in pools like this, you know you have too much weight, take some off. You're better off with a little bit of lighter weight than having something too heavy where you're just constantly getting hooked up. But when you're using a sensitive rod too, you can actually feel as you're drifting down the river, You can feel every little bump, every little rock that's in there, and then you'll know that you're on the bottom and you're doing it properly. You see how I lead that leader? With the tip of the rod, I am actually pulling my leader down through this run. I am leading my leader. I'm casting out quarterly upstream. I'm leading my leader as I go down through this current, and I'm taking in all slack so I feel everything as I go down. The technical term for what I'm doing is called drift fishing. I actually call it sweeping the bottom because what I have is a nice long leader, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I am casting up, and I'm sweeping the bottom, and I'm actually looking for fish right through this hole here. Fish on. Ah. Oh. All right, now the fish themselves. Now what happens here is right above us, I would say probably about a quarter of a mile up, is the state hatchery. And what happens is this hatchery actually hatches all the fish, and they have them in, say 5 to 10 different humongous big bins. And they hatch them up to about 2 inches, and each bin has a different type of fish. Some are coho, some are steelhead, some are brown trout. And these king salmon are also in there. And what they do is in the spring, they'll release these fish. And I would say they're about 2 to 3 inches long, and they will release them. Now these fish will go down this river out into Lake Ontario. They will live there and feed for 3 years. They will get big and fat, some up to 40 plus pounds. They're humongous. Then what happens at the 3-year cycle, they will come back up the river to their original place where they were hatched and let go. Now they're going to be coming up this river to spawn. And what they're doing is looking for spawning beds just above us here. And they come up into these rips here and they stop and they rest and they take a breath a bit because it's a 13-mile span to come up this river. So they rest in different spots, they look for their area to spawn, and that's basically it. Now we're looking to get them before they spawn and try to catch a few of these fish right here. Now, one thing I should tell you, these fish that once they enter the mouth of the river, these fish stop feeding. So a lot of people are saying, how do you catch them if they stop feeding? How are we going to catch them? Well, what's happening is these things only have one thing in mind, and that is to come up here and spawn and die. So what we're doing is we're taking a little fly or a leader, a fly or a plug or some type of bait, and we're sticking it into their face. And what's happening here is even though they're not eating, the only thing they have in their mind is to get up this river. So out of frustration, out of aggravation, whatever, they're going to snap at this fly and they're going to try to just stop it as it comes through the drift. Or they're actually just going to pick it up and move it and try to get it out of there, especially if there's a fish here on the spawning beds. When you see a female on a bed, there's always a couple of males, and usually the males are very, very aggressive. Now these males will come, especially the males will come and try to move this fly and get it off the bed and out of the area here. So that's basically how we're catching these fish. We're aggravating them. My wife usually says I'm very good at that. Now I want to just keep running through this hole here because I'll tell you, I saw a couple fish right in here. I know they're here. Now, we were just up at the lodge, and the folks at the lodge just told us that they had a major run just come through here within the last couple days. Now, it looks good, and it looks like we're going to have a very promising outing here. We just want to get that first one. Fish on! There he is! Now, one thing, you don't want to get so excited here when, Joshua, get the net, please. Now, you don't want to get so excited that you don't think about what you're doing. A lot of guys get hurt in this river because their heart is pounding, the adrenaline's pumping. Safety first. Your life is not worth any fish. So what we're going to do is be very careful. We're going to take this fish. I want my net man to stay right there because I'm sure this fish is going to come down. I told you I saw that fish there, and he was, sure enough, he was sitting there. We missed him the first time, but we got him the second time. And this looks like a big male king salmon. This thing looks about 20, 25 pounds. And what he's doing now on me is he's sitting right here in the pool. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to tire him out. Now, the secret when you're catching these fish, what you want to do is try to stay even with them. Now, sometimes I've had fish run a mile down the river and then turn around and come completely back up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get even with this fish. And then we'll see if he keeps going up the river, or we can get him to come back down into the pool. Now, sometimes I've already run up these rivers a quarter of a mile, turned around and came right back down again. Stay there. Stay. Now, we don't want to lose this one. This is our first fish for the season. I am excited. My heart is pumping. I love to land this fish and bring him home for dinner. This is exciting. This is what it's all about. This is what fishing is all about. This is great. Now, you see, I was just telling you how these fish, we drifted down in front of him, and he got so frustrated that he just nailed that fly. That was a beautiful, beautiful fish. Now, I do want to tell you guys sometimes at home, I don't want you getting frustrated when you lose a fish, because I'm going to be honest with you. Out of every 10 fish that you guys hook, you're going to be lucky if you land 2 and 3. Now, today, we have a good situation here. It's not as crowded. But when there's, in another week or two, we're going to have humongous crowds. It's going to be shoulder to shoulder lined up down here. And landing these fish is a little bit more difficult. But don't get frustrated if you lose a fish. Get back out in that water and do it again. Now, when you first come up, I can only tell you what I do. I usually stop at the local tackle shops. I usually stop at the lodge, and I usually ask a lot of questions. I ask where the fish are located, because I'll tell you, just about anybody ask is going to be more than willing to tell you what they know. So, especially if you guys are new to this area, you want to ask a lot of questions on where these fish are. Now, these fish, once you, let's say you go down to the local tackle shop, and the guy in the tackle shop says to you, there's a heavy concentration of fish, a big run just came through, and they're all sitting in the sportsman's pool. And you say, oh, that's great. Where's the sportsman's pool? What you want to do is pick up a little river map, and most of these sports shops have them. They give you the road directions, they give you the names of all the pools from the bottom to the top, and they give you all the parking accesses. Now, this is just one trick. There's another trick out. There's a book out, and it's called Salmon Secrets. Now, in this book, there are, on every page, they go over a different hole from the bottom to the top. Not only do they give you a picture of the hole, they explain the hole, and they tell you the best position to be in to fish that hole. And they have this book at some of the tackle shops. But if you can't find it, what I'm going to do is at the end of the video, I'm going to give you my phone number. And you can call me and you can get any information that you want about the video and about these books that we have, and even river maps. You can order them and you can give me a call, and I can give you all the information you need. Now, one other thing I want to tell you about is once you find the hole, the task is not done. These fish come up what we call like a highway. They're actually on a run, and they'll come up in only 5% of this whole entire river. You want to locate the highway, the 5% that these fish run over. Sure, there's some fish that stop and they hit the shoulder and things like that, but the majority of them follow the run, which I call the highway, and they'll follow this all the way up the river, and it's only a small path. So when you come to a river, before you ever even fish this river, you want to stand and you want to look around. and you want to see where that highway is and where these fish are running, because this is where you want to concentrate on your casting technique. One of the things that's going to help you locate these fish are polarized glasses. This is a must up here. There is rocky conditions all over the place, not only to see the fish, but just to see where you're going. A lot of people, you walk out here in the middle of the river, you can get hurt really bad. These polarized glasses change everything. I can actually see some of the fish that come up in here with these glasses. If you're going to invest in any safety equipment, the two things I think I would invest in is the polarized glasses, and I've got a pair of corkers, they call them, on my feet. And these things are actually river cleats, and they keep you from slipping and falling. At the end of our program, what I'm going to do also is give you a list, a checklist of everything that I bring up here. It's actually my own checklist. I'll tell you, I come up here at least 3-4 times a year. I have 3 sons that come up here with me on every trip. I usually take one at a time because it's all I can handle. And I take these boys up with me, and it's a fabulous, fabulous weekend. There's some weekends we come up here and we only get 3, 4, 5 fish. Oh man, again, he's sitting there. I missed him again. There's other weekends where we'll just hammer him, and we have a fantastic, fantastic time. I'll tell you, if you have a son and a daughter, I highly recommend coming out here with them. It's a weekend of a lifetime with these kids. And I'm going to tell you, some of you guys aren't going to be happy with this, but I tell you, I took my wife out here one weekend. It was actually the best weekend I've ever had in my entire life of fishing. I know that's hard to believe, but it really was. I took her out here, even though she actually caught a 42-pound salmon, and I didn't catch anything, it was still a fabulous weekend. So you guys don't have to come out here alone. Bring your wives, your girlfriends, your kids. I'll tell you, it's just fun for the whole family. It's fantastic out here. We have a great time. I look forward to this all year long, to bring the family out here, the kids out here, and just be together. It's just a fun, fun time. The hole we were at earlier this morning is Fraser's Run. Now this hole here, they call this the trestle pool. And you can see why. This is the old trestle that used to run over the top. And there's some days when there's just fish just mounded up in here. Some days it's actually very easy to fish pools and holes like this. Even if there's a large crowd of people, there's just so many fish and you're just sitting on the bottom. It's relatively easy to catch. Now in a situation that we have today, there's not that many guys and there's not that many fish. And the fish that we do have are actually circling in this hole. They're roaming around. They're very uneasy. They see a lot of weights and a lot of things coming at them, and they're not sitting still. So it makes it a little more difficult to catch these fish. But every once in a while, you get one that just stops and takes a rest, and then he gets annoyed at you for putting your fly in the middle, and he'll hit it. And hopefully, that'll be the case here in a few minutes. When you're in a hole like this and it's really crowded, what you want to do is have just a little bit of patience, and you also want to work with the people that are around you. You want to time your cast. Sometimes these pools, especially pools like this, on weekends, are so crowded, shoulder to shoulder, and you want to work together a little bit with your neighbor next to you. Now, when I'm fishing, what I'm doing is I'm waiting for him to come through his cast, and then I'll cast over top. And you try to avoid each other. Now sometimes you just can't do it. And everybody's usually pretty cool out here in the river. We take turns reeling each other's lines in and untangling the mess. And hopefully...
Get him, Eddie.
Okay, Chris. We had 3 on, we lost every one of them. We were here since like 1 o'clock, and we lost 3.
Yeah. We did good today. We had 40 and landed 9.
Excellent.
So, should be a bloodbath tomorrow when the water goes down.
That's why I got you in the morning.
fool you.
Fish on.
Now, this is actually a very good spot. There's a lot of fish located in this hole. And what happens? We get a run through here. This is actually the deepest, we call a hole. This is the deepest section of the river. And what happens is all these fish come up and they sit in these big holes. That's why you see a major concentration of fishermen in these holes. Because the fish are like sitting ducks. They're sitting there and they're just swimming around this area. And what everyone's here doing is trying to catch them. All right, this fish is coming down, guys. All right, now, like I said, when you're fighting a fish, always go back to the bank. Never want to fight a fish out here. This thing will load you down much for this. And what we're going to do is we're going to put it down, guys. All right, let me see if I can get this one in a little bit closer.
Unfortunately, you lost fire.
He's going for a ride. All right. Ron, just what we're doing now is we're just trying to stay even with the fish, and we're trying to tire him out if he don't tire us out first, and see if we can get him down. I want to see if I can get him down a little bit lower so these guys can keep fishing. All right, what we're doing now is we're trying to just keep the rod up high, trying to keep our line away from the other fishermen and trees and rocks and everything else we can get. We're just keeping a steady pressure on him, and we'll try to reel him in and see if we can get him in a little bit closer. Now, Josh, I'm going to bring him in as close as I can, and hopefully he won't get spooked. That's a good... Josh, watch the line. It's a really good hook. Wait a minute, go easy. Wait, it's a good hook. I thought it was a bad hook. It's a good hook. Wait a minute. No, bring the net underneath. The net from underneath the back, you come into him. Don't ever try to chop at him and break my line. Okay? Now I'm going to keep pressure on him. Now take it easy. We got a little bit. You want to scoop him underneath. Go underneath him. Josh, come on, Josh. Did you get him? Yeah. Good job. Thank you. Good hook, good fish, good job, Josh. Thank you, gentlemen. Nice job, very nice job. Always when you're netting, what you want to do is, let me tell the folks at home too, when you're netting, you always want to come up underneath them and from behind them. You don't want to chop at them because you could break the line. That was an excellent job, very good. That was a beautiful, beautiful hook. You can see what we were talking about on good hooks. When your fly is in his throat, right down his mouth, he actually hit it, we aggravated him enough where that fly is right down in the mouth itself, and it was a beautiful, beautiful hook. We just brought our fish in, and this fish here is a male. You can tell by the hook jaw. Now the females, they got more of a rounded jaw. And what we're going to do in a minute, this is a king salmon. This is a Chinook king salmon. And what we're going to do is weigh this one. That fish right there is 17 pounds, 8 ounces. Nice fish, beautiful fish. We're going to bring him home for the dinner plate. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the lodge in a little while, and we're going to have the guys at the lodge, they're going to flay them up, and we're going to watch how they do that. And that's really interesting. And then what they do is they flay them up, and they pack them in ice, and when we're ready to go home, we bring them home and cook them up.
When the day is done, you can just wash off your catch and take your fish to any one of the number of nearby fish cleaning stations and smokehouses. For a few dollars, these guys will expertly fillet your fish and pack them in ice or freeze them for you. If you're staying for a few days, they'll just hold on to your fish until you're ready to leave. Many of these stations are also smokehouses, and they can smoke your salmon in a number of different flavors. I myself like honey. If you haven't tasted smoked salmon, you're in for a real treat.
Good morning, everybody. We're up here on a beautiful salmon river. It's my son Josh and our guide Chris. And what we're doing is we're back trolling down this river. Now what we did is we put out 4 plugs. And the fish are actually right in front of us here. And what we're doing is Chris is going to be back trolling down the river, and we're going to try to frustrate these fish into hitting our lures. And we're just going to be back trolling very slowly, and hopefully one of these poles will go over. The super advantages to coming out here with a guide is we're into holes where no one else can even think about getting into. This is a big advantage when you're locating fish and you want to hit fish. People can't just walk off the street and walk into a hole like this. The only way to get in here is with a boat like this. What I'm doing right now is Josh just hooked up. I'm trying to get these other rods. We're running 4 rods out here. And what I'm doing is I'm reeling these rods up, getting them out of Josh's way so we don't get tangled up and all messed up. We don't want Josh losing this fish. All right, now we're clearing this whole area for Josh, letting him fight his fish. Keep that tip up high. Some of these fish are over 40 pounds. So what we have to do is we're chasing this fish down the river and trying to get even with him. Trying to wear him down too. What a fish. What a fish. Nice and easy on him. All right, he's coming up here on the side of us, Chris. All right, he's right in here. He's right here in the middle. Keep the tip up high and nice and easy, nice and gentle. That's it. Beautiful.
Okay, now start easing them to one side.
That's, pull him to that side.
Ease them back the other way.
All right, ease him back this way, Josh. Now, one of the advantages of fishing in this type of situation is you don't have to get out of the boat. The guide gets them for you. This is what's great. I don't have to get wet. And when you have an experienced guide with you, this is what it's all about.
When I tell you, you're going to lift straight up. Okay, straight up now.
Lift.
Nice and easy. Straight up. Straight up.
Straight up.
Reel down, lift straight up. Straight up. Got it, like 1 foot. Back again. Nice and easy though.
Keep the tip.
You only got the back hook.
Nice and easy. Don't. Just keep a little pressure on him, reel down on him.
I want to plug that.
That's it. Keep it going over that way a little bit.
There you go. Reel down on him.
That's it. Keep it going. Right in front of you, Chris.
Straight up with him, Josh.
Straight up.
Nice and easy. Okay, keep it coming to the side again. Yeah, keep it coming right to the side like that. Just keep the pressure on him. If he wants to give an inch. We got to get him back close again, because when we got to get him up, turning his head, then I can scoop.
Okay. Keep him going that way. Reel down on him.
Keep him coming. He wants it.
That's it. Keep good job. Keep going. Keep going like that. Keep that pot. Pull that rod back.
Keep it coming.
Excellent
Reel
job.
down, reel down, reel down. Reel down. Okay. Reel down one more time, a little bit. Straight up, straight up.
Straight up with the pole. Yeah, that's it. Nice job, Chris. Nice job. What a beautiful, beautiful fish. Gorgeous.
Nice female.
Beautiful. We got a beautiful female here. Gorgeous.
Just came out.
Oh, what a beautiful job. Beautiful. Nice job, Josh. Josh, very good, buddy. Very good.
Very good.
Nice job. Nice job.
Hold that neck for a second.
Here, I'll take the rod. I'll take the rod. Oh, what a beautiful female. Now, if we can hold that fish up, you notice yesterday we caught a male, and he had a hooked mouth. The females here have more of a rounded mouth. Beautiful, beautiful fish. Absolutely gorgeous. What a nice sized fish. How much do you think that one weighs, Chris?
Probably 25.
25 pounds?
25.
Beautiful, beautiful fish. Very nice. Yeah, we'll take that one home for dinner.
Yes, we will.
Nice hook. Nice, really nice hook. He's coming back a little bit, Chris. He's coming down. Okay, I got it. Coming down. Oh, this is a... This is a big, big fish. Coming over you, coming over. I'll go, coming down. Nice job, Chris. I didn't want to get another one in a tree. Nice job. Wow, what a fish! We got to weigh that one, Chris. I got to scale. Nice female?
Yeah.
Another nice female. Beautiful, beautiful fish.
22. 22.5. 22.2.
22.2. Nice fish. Beautiful female. A lot of eggs in this female. Beautiful, beautiful fish. What I want to talk to you now is the presentation of a fly with the fly rod itself. The presentation between the spin casting rod and the fly rod is basically the same, but you're using just different equipment. And what we're going to do is we're going to cast our running line upstream quarterly and just drift down through the pockets in here. And as we do that, what we're doing is we're taking in line. We're taking in our line. That way when a fish stops that fly or hits that fly, instantly you're going to feel that fish on the end of that hook, and you'll be able to set your hook. Now let me run through it a couple times just so you have an idea and give you a little bit better perspective of what's happening out here. And when you get out here, you'll know just how to do it. Here I'm taking in line as I'm drifting. I just want to take the slack line out. I don't want to take too much line. Now, there's a couple ways to do that. When you got a small run or small pocket right here in the middle, you're going to actually just flip it out. There's not too much of a technique with the fly rod itself. Oh, almost. There's not too much of difference with the technique. You can just do an overhead cast or just flipping. But what the object of this is you want to constantly run that fly, that lure, and that leader along that bottom where the fish are holding. That is one of the secrets to success in this river. Keeping that leader and everything just bouncing along the bottom and keeping it moving. Now, if your leader is constantly getting hung up on the bottom, that means you're using much too much weight. You want to lighten up a little bit on that weight and get a nice drift through there. Now, I don't know if you can follow me here. I got a bright orange line, and maybe you could just follow and you can see just how that line is just running right through that current. It just keeps on moving. Now, when those fish see that, they'll hit it. What I did is I put about 150, 200 yards of backing on this first. Then what we have here is a running line. This is a perfectly level fly line that floats. Now what's nice about this running line, when you're in the river here, there's not a lot of knots to tie. This has a loop-to-loop connection. This has a large loop at the end of this fly line. So what I did is I took a piece of fluorocarbon leader as a butt section. This is a 20-pound butt section fluorocarbon leader, and I tied my own little loop on the end. And what I do is I actually do this at home, or I do it in the office when things are slow, and I'll just sit there by my desk and I'll just tie maybe 5 to 10 of these, just about 2.5 feet long with a little end on it. So when I'm out in the river here, I don't have any tying at all. I'll just do a simple loop-to-loop connection. What I'll do then is I put this little gadget on here they call a tip saver. Now last year I've had a fish that ran up, I reeled a little bit too far and it blew the end off. I said that'll never happen again. So what I did is I went out and I bought these little tip savers, and they're worth their weight in gold. Especially when you guys have expensive fly rods and everything and you really value them, tip savers are the way to go. I'll put a tip saver on, and then what I'll do is I'll tie the butt end of the section that I just put on here onto a swivel. And I'll leave a tag end on it. I don't know if you can see that, and I'll leave my weights just dangling down. This helps you in a lot of different situations where you have a rocky bottom. Instead of breaking off and losing your whole rig, what we're going to do now is just lose our weights. Our weights will pull off. We still have our whole leader and whole rig. It's real quick just to put your weight back on and you're back fishing again. Now what I do is off my swivel itself, we use long leaders out here, and long leaders are like almost a must. When you're doing this type of fishing, the longer the leader, the better. You actually get a really nice drift through here. Now I use 12-pound fluorocarbon leader, and fluorocarbon leader is completely invisible in water. Now these fish can see extremely well. Some guys use 10, 12, 15, 20-pound leader material, and they have a disadvantage because these fish come up here and see that and they'll go around. This, they do not see it at all. Then what I'll do is I have a simple fly that I use. It's actually just an owner, a number 2 hook or a number 4 hook, and I buy these little crystal glow balls. I get them in a bag of a dozen. I think they're like $2 or $3 for a dozen, and I just slip them over the hook. And these things are dynamite. Not only do we get the kings out here, but I catch steelhead, browns, everything that's in this river, I catch with that one little sparkly egg. If I had a number 1 bait to pick over everything that's available today, this is the key. There are some other flies that we use. There's flies like comet flies that are a little bit more weighted. Let me see if I got one to show you here a minute. Now these flies, I do have a little box here of flies, and I always have a wide variety of flies because, you know, just for different situations we're in. Now if you have an area where you don't have a big run, it's more of a dead water, I use a comet fly. And these comet flies actually have weighted eyes, little beaded weighted eyes. And this helps to keep those keep the hook right down on the bottom where these fish are laying. They're excellent, excellent flies. But like I said, I still prefer just a basic salmon egg. It works for me time after time again. It's nothing fancy. It doesn't cost me a lot of money. It's relatively cheap, where you're going with these comet flies, and in some of these sports shops, they're charging you $2, $3 for a comet fly. And when you have a rocky bottom in here, you can go through an awful lot of them. This is my secret right here. Little egg. Works every time. All right, I'm gonna try to pull this fish right down in front of you guys. Whoa! Coming down, coming down. Is it a good hook? Good job, Chris. Nice job. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. I just wanted to show you guys a minute while we're here. This is the first fish that I caught on my brand new fly rod. Now the fly rod that we have, this is an 8-weight, a 9-foot rod, and I have an anti-reverse reel that I put onto this rod, 150 yards of backing. And what we're using here is a running line. This is actually just a flat line. It's a floating, and it's actually the first fish that I caught with this rod. And it's about 25, 30 pounds? 25-pound king. And what we're going to do is we're going to release this fish, and we're going to let him go.
Catch his breath, which he pretty much has. There he goes.
Thanks, Chris. Okay, the reason why we did release this fish is we have our limit. Each person in this river is allowed 3 fish per day. Now we have our 3 fish. After that, you've got to let them go. Tomorrow's another day. Oh, Chris, we got to come back here. Oh, the worst part about coming up here is leaving. But we had a great week, we had a lot of fun, we caught a lot of fish. I hope to see all of you up here soon on the Salmon River.